Boldly styled, with acres of space inside and a commitment to quality that will surprise many, Peugeot's 407 is that rarest of commodities, a big Mondeo-sized French car you might actually spend your own money on. With some great diesel engines and a brilliant SW estate model, it's a class act.
No market category in the industry has as densely populated a crop of high-quality products as the medium-range Mondeo sector. Renault's Laguna, Ford's Mondeo, Citroen's C5, Mazda's 6, Vauxhall's Insignia, all are brilliant cars. And it's against rivals such as these that Peugeot's 407 must square up. Now, that's a big ask for a car that's been around since 2004, but to help it along, this distinctive French cruiser has been treated to a life-giving transfusion of extra equipment and styling revisions. In its favour is tight pricing, strong equipment levels, and impressive range of all diesel engines. It also helps that, to our eyes, the 407 SW is still the most distinctive and attractive estate car out there. The 407 has long been regarded as a mile muncher par excellence that also has the ability to entertain. Still, if you want something that's really sporty in the medium range segment, there are other rivals that are probably a better bet. But what the 407 can deliver is big car feel and big car features at a relatively modest price. The engine range, though now all diesel, is usefully diverse and well suited to the kind of demands that likely owners are going to be making of their cars. Now, under the bonnet, proceedings open with a 1.6 litre 110 brake horsepower HDI diesel. That sits just below the engine that I'm trying here, an HDI with 140 brake horsepower and 2 litres in size. Just above that sits a 2.2 litre HDI with 170 brake horsepower. Now, all of these three come with FAP diesel fuel particulate filters and manual transmission. But if you want an auto box, there's a choice of two. There's a 4-cylinder 136 brake horsepower unit, or the top of the range 2.7 litre HDI V6. If you really want to be alpha green, there's a 2 litre Bioflex engine available that that runs on E85 fuel. Now, as I've already suggested, the car doesn't feel as planted or responsive on the road as the sportiest of its rivals, but buyers who prioritise ride comfort could easily be persuaded. This car rides poorly surfaced tarmac very well and is a relaxing drive on the motorway where it displays high levels of refinement. The engines keep noise levels in the cabin down, as does the car's slippery shape. Safety is a strong point, with a clever standard ESP stability control system that also looks after the anti-lock brakes and the emergency brake assist system that gives you maximum retardation in emergency stops. It also looks after the brake force distribution system to make sure that there's stopping power to the maximum on each individual wheel. Now, up to 9 airbags can be specified for optimum protection: twin front, side, curtain airbags both sides, front and rear, and even an airbag in the steering column. Just to make doubly sure, there's a device called an impactor built into the chassis, which anchors the engine to the subframe so that it doesn't get pushed into the passenger cell in the event of a crash. Now, this is in theory a facelifted Peugeot 407, but you'd have to be a real brand anorak to notice the changes. In case you are, I'll tell you that the front grille section has been redesigned, the bumpers are restyled front and rear, the back bumper has a diffuser style insert at its base, and the rear light clusters have been restyled too. That's about it. Still, not much needed doing to this distinctive looking car, a design that looks utterly stunning from some angles, but slightly unusual from others. What you can't argue with are the stylish yet futuristic looks of the SW Estate version. For those of you used to estates of this class being effectively hatchbacks with backpacks, incorporating all the aesthetic elegance of a conservatory mounting your vehicle, it all comes as a very welcome change. Now, even if you habitually carry quite a lot of stuff around with you, you might not necessarily need the SW Estate version. As you can see, the boot for the saloon model I've got here is pretty large, and you can extend it still further by folding forward the seat squabs to create a loading area that's actually very big indeed. You've also got this useful luggage net to stop loose items falling around during spirited cornering. But if all that's still not enough, then the SW Estate adds 87mm onto the rear overhang here to create a loading area that's 1700mm long and never less than 1100mm wide. Now inside, Peugeot has gone large with piano black finishes. This lustrous black plastic is featured in plusher models like this one and adds a touch of class to the proceedings. Now, to be quite frank, that was needed thanks to the presence of things like these indicator stalks that are borrowed from cheaper Peugeot and Citroën models. The centre console with its cluster of little buttons always looks a little busy, but models with satellite navigation get a very slick system that you can see here. Now, all of these cars' mainstream rivals sit in the £17,000 to £26,000 bracket, and the Peugeot 407 is no different. This car is available in saloon, SW Estate and coupe body styles, and it certainly seems to present a strong value proposition, which is just as well in the light of the fierce competition it faces in its sector. The 407 has always been one of the better equipped cars of its type, and every model features remote control central locking, electric windows, a leather coloured steering wheel, climate control, a trip computer and an ultrasonic alarm. While outside you get body colour for the bumpers, the mirrors, the side mouldings and the door handles. Now, Peugeot dealers are open to sharpening their pencils cost-wise with this car, which means that you could end up getting yourself an entry-level version for pretty much the cost of a decent family hatchback. If you want a recommendation, then I'd say that the 2-litre HDI 140 version that I'm driving here looks a decent pick, with a combined fuel consumption figure of 49.5 miles to the gallon and an emissions figure of 150 grams per kilometre of CO2, and both those are very competitive figures. Go for the punchier 2.2 litre HDI 170 and there's very little penalty in terms of fuel consumption, which is 46.3 miles to the gallon, but emissions do rise to 160 grams per kilometre of CO2. The 2.7 litre V6 HDI certainly makes all the performance numbers, but fuel consumption falls to 33.6 miles to the gallon, and it's in insurance group 15. A CO2 emissions figure of 223 grams per kilometre of CO2 will also see it struck off many company car drivers' lists too. In order to succeed in the medium-range Mondeo sector, a manufacturer must bring something different to the party. And that's exactly what Peugeot has tried to do with this 407. It's boldly styled and is perfectly at home on the long journeys that it's typically asked to perform. No, it's not the freshest face in the sector, but it's priced relevantly at a level that will keep it competitive for a few years yet. Assuming you get the right price, serious downsides are few. Yes, the centre console is a little busy, and the sporting side to the handling that some buyers look for, well, it isn't really present. Plus, the penalty for that swooping roofline is very slightly restricted headroom in the rear. But otherwise, the 407 gets a really favourable report card with a strong range of engines, excellent safety levels, good equipment, and a really lovely ride. Plus, the SW Estate version is one of the most distinctive load carriers around with genuine presence. Overall then, a French connection that's still well worth considering.